we go. Hi, I'm Eddie Matthews from the Stratford and District Chamber of Commerce, and the Chamber recently held an all-candidates debate at the Arkin Park Hotel, and we wanted to continue that discussion one-on-one with the candidates of Perth Wellington. And today we're joined by Conservative MP John Nader. John, good to see you.
Good to see you too, Eddie. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. It's a busy time for you, election and campaigning and getting the kids off for school all at the same time. That's got to be a hectic schedule.
Oh, it definitely can be, but it's a lot of fun as well. It's always a great opportunity to see people at the doorsteps. Talk to literally thousands of people to hear about what's important to them. So it's a busy time, but it's an important time as well.
Yeah, there are a few questions that weren't able to be addressed while we're doing the debate, so I thought I'd get to them one-on-one. Questions about the environment, national pharmacare program, national debt, and the vaccine program. So we'll start with climate change, and I'm sure many don't realize the city of Stratford declared a climate emergency in February of 2020. If elected, what would your government do to eliminate the extraction of fossil fuels and the burning of fossil fuels in this country?
Yeah, thanks for the question, Eddie. And it is so important. It's the environment, climate change. It's something that I'll be honest. In the past, the Conservatives have not always had a credible plan on the environment, on how to address climate change. So this time around, what we did is we introduced our platform on the environment, on climate change early. We did it back in April to put it on display so that everyone would have an opportunity to see it, to understand it, to know where we're going on it. So a few of the key things that we're going to be addressing in our plan is, first of all, tackling the major emitters, making sure that they're playing by the rules, that they're decreasing emissions so we can meet our targets, meet our Paris targets. Second thing is we need to work with the industries, with local industries, including the agriculture industry, to reward and promote some of the work that they're already doing. So carbon capture, carbon sequestration, wetlands and waterway protection, working with our agriculture community and rewarding them for what they're already doing. And then another component, which is fairly exciting, and because it has to do with innovation. And we know that in our communities, we see so much innovation, and that's with electric vehicles and hydrogen vehicles. So having a mandate by 2030 to transition to this type of vehicle is going to have a huge impact, because we know that transportation is one of the biggest challenges to emissions across Canada. And then finally, we need to look internationally as well. So we know that we can and we must do all we can here in Canada, but we also need the international community to come on board as well. So we need to look at what kind of controls we can have at our borders so that we're not importing goods and services from international competitors who have such lower environmental and, frankly, labor standards as well. So we need to look at how we can address that at the border as well.
Okay, we'll move on to your party's position on a national pharmacare program. Tell me a little bit about that and what you see.
Yeah, absolutely. So, we're lucky in Canada that, a lot of Canadians are covered by work plans for their prescription drugs, or covered by government programs for their drugs. But there are a lot of Canadians who are slipping through the cracks. So we need to address that. And a couple components to that, I would say, is first, we need to look at drug approvals more generally. Too often I hear from families, from those suffering with a specific illness, that the drugs aren't being approved in Canada quick enough. The classic example was Trikafta for cystic fibrosis. 2 years later than in the United States, it was approved. So we have to look at that approval process. And then the second component has to do with the cost itself. So once we get these drugs approved, once we get them allowed for use in Canada, often these can cost in the thousands or tens of thousands of dollars for some of these drugs for more rare diseases. So we need a national strategy to address rare diseases and the costs that go with us, so that no family is out of pocket tens of thousands of dollars to address that. And we need to work with provinces to put that into place. We have a lot of the structure, a lot of the infrastructure already in place to do a lot of this. We just need the commitment from both levels of government to make it happen, so that no one is going bankrupt or is losing their life savings to pay for drugs. It's been interesting at the doors. I was in St. Mary's last weekend talking with a family who had a family member related to them who was spending, I believe, $6,500 a month on a specific drug treatment program. So that's the type of thing we need to be addressing.
Yeah, well, you bring up the cost of things, and let's face it, the past 18 months or so has been, I'll say, challenging is an understatement. Eventually, we're going to have to pay back all these loans and probably look at some cuts. Hopefully not, no matter which party leads this country after September 20th. How much debt can this country safely take on before we create a problem that's even too large for future generations to absorb?
Yeah, absolutely, Eddie. I mean, we look at our debt; it's now crossed the $1 trillion mark. So this is a massive impact on our economy. We have to remember too, it's not just the debt; it's the debt servicing charges that go with it too, the interest. And right now, interest rates are low, but interest rates aren't going to stay low forever. So as interest rates start to creep up, that's more money that we're spending on debt financing rather than on the issues that matter to Canadians: healthcare, supporting families, supporting communities. So what we've promised in our platform is address this debt crisis over the long term. So we've committed to balance the budget within 10 years. Obviously, I don't think anyone, hearing conservatives would normally think, we wanted to balance the budget as quickly as possible, and I think we all would. But doing it over a longer period of time allows us to focus on the economic recovery, making sure that we do it in a balanced and appropriate way over the long term, so we don't have to make major cuts, so we don't have to cut the services that matter to Canadians. So being able to do it combined with economic growth over the next 10 years, I think that's the responsible way to address the debt and make sure that we're not burdening the future generations with our generation's debt.
Yeah, and with that in mind, we've got just a few minutes left in the segment of that. The last few days, well, more than that now, but just in the last 24 hours, we've been hearing about a vaccine passport in this province, but we've been hearing about a vaccine mandate recently. And this issue is, you and I both know, it's going to divide an awful lot in this country. But for those people that do have medical issues, valid medical exemptions, what will your government do to keep all Canadians safe, including those with a compromised immune issues?
Yeah, absolutely, Eddie. I think that's that key word right there is safe. At the end of the day, whichever government is in power, we need to keep Canadians safe. That is one of the most fundamental reasons for why government exists, is to keep Canadians safe. And for those who might still be hesitant about the vaccine, again, don't take my word for it. I'm a politician. You can ignore what I say, but if you have questions about the vaccine, talk to your family doctor, talk to a healthcare professional. They're the experts. They're the ones who know your specific medical condition. So talk to them if you have questions about the vaccine. For those who are unable to get it, for those situations, who need to travel but are unable to get vaccinated, we're going to have a program of testing at points of departure, whether that's at an airport or a train station, to ensure that anyone's getting on a flight, getting on a train, who can't be vaccinated, who isn't vaccinated, is shown that they're not carrying COVID-19. At the end of the day, we need to keep each and every person safe, make sure that we're able to get the economy, small businesses up and running. And the only way we can do that is to get over the hurdle of COVID-19, so we can see the economy open and stay open long term.
Yeah, no kidding. John, I appreciate your time, and best of luck on September the 20th. Okay.
Thank you, Eddie. My pleasure. Great to chat with you again, and looking forward to Election Day.
John Nader joining us on the Stratford and District Chamber of Commerce. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.